Have you ever noticed that one of Michael's biggest weaknesses was not his politics, not his intelligence, and not even his constant arguments with Archie Bunker? Yo, listen. One of Michael's most fascinating flaws was something far more human. He hated resistance, not disagreement, not debate, resistance. The moment somebody refused to accept what he believed was obvious, reasonable, or morally correct, you could practically see the frustration building inside him. And trust me, this is one of the reasons Michael became such a realistic and brilliantly written character. Welcome back, everybody. If you love classic television, deep character analysis, and exploring the hidden layers behind legendary sitcoms, then you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we are diving into Mike's impatience with resistance. And I am telling you right now, this character trait explains a huge amount of what made Michael such a powerful presence on All in the Family. Because here is the thing. Michael was not just passionate. He was impatient. He was part of a generation that believed change was overdue. He looked at racism and wanted it challenged immediately. He looked at sexism and wanted it challenged immediately. He looked at social inequality and wanted it challenged immediately. He looked at outdated traditions and wanted them questioned immediately. And while that passion made him admirable, it also created one of his greatest flaws. He often struggled to understand why other people were not changing as fast as he wanted them to. Let that sink in. One of my biggest hot takes about All in the Family is this. Michael was often more frustrated by resistance than by the actual issue being debated. Think about that. Archie says something offensive. Michael responds, but watch carefully. Sometimes Michael seems less angry about the comment itself than he is about the fact that Archie refuses to learn from previous arguments. That refusal drives him crazy. Because Michael genuinely believes many of these debates should already be settled. In his mind, the evidence exists. The facts exist. The moral arguments exist. So why are people still resisting? That question fuels much of his frustration throughout the series. And honestly, it makes perfect sense. Imagine spending years arguing the same points. Imagine presenting evidence over and over. Imagine explaining your position repeatedly. Imagine believing the answer is obvious. Eventually, frustration becomes inevitable. That is exactly what happens to Michael. The brilliance of the writing is that viewers can understand his frustration while also recognizing its limitations. Because resistance is rarely as simple as ignorance. That is something Michael sometimes struggles to grasp. Archie is not merely resisting ideas. Archie is resisting change. He is resisting uncertainty. He is resisting a world that feels increasingly unfamiliar. Those emotional realities matter. But Michael often approaches resistance intellectually rather than emotionally. And that creates conflict. Another hot take. I think Michael frequently underestimated how difficult it is for people to change. Now, before anybody misunderstands me, I am not defending prejudice. I am talking about human psychology. People become attached to beliefs. People build identities around assumptions. People invest years, sometimes decades, in particular ways of seeing the world. Changing those beliefs can feel threatening. Michael understands arguments. What he occasionally fails to understand is attachment. And because he fails to understand attachment, he becomes impatient. Rob deserves enormous credit here, because playing impatience convincingly is not easy. The character could have become annoying very quickly. Instead, makes Michael's frustration feel authentic. You believe he cares. You believe he is passionate. You believe he genuinely wants progress. That sincerity keeps viewers invested even when Michael becomes difficult. One of the most fascinating recurring patterns involves Michael entering conversations already expecting resistance. Think about that. Many times he walks into the room anticipating a fight before one even begins. Archie makes a comment. Michael immediately prepares for battle. Not because he enjoys conflict, because he expects resistance. And expectations shape behavior. When you expect resistance, patience disappears quickly. Every disagreement feels larger. Every objection feels more significant. Every conversation feels like another obstacle standing in the way of progress. That mindset drives many of Michael's most memorable confrontations. Another hot take. Michael occasionally treated resistance itself as evidence of failure. If somebody disagreed with him, he often assumed they were refusing to accept reality. But resistance can come from many places. Fear, a tradition, a confusion, pride, personal experience, generational differences, emotional wounds. Michael sometimes reduces these complicated factors into simple opposition. And that reduction makes him less effective than he could be. One of the things Norman Lear ever did was pairing Michael with Archie instead of somebody easier. Imagine Michael arguing with somebody who already agrees with him. There is no drama. There is no growth. There is no challenge. Archie forces Michael to confront resistance in its most stubborn form. And that experience exposes both the strengths and weaknesses of Michael's personality. His intelligence becomes obvious. His passion becomes obvious. His impatience becomes obvious. That combination creates great television. Now let us talk about, because often serves as the perfect contrast. When encounters resistance, she responds differently. Much differently. Michael sees resistance and pushes harder. Sees resistance and listens. Michael sees resistance as a barrier. Sees resistance as part of the conversation. Michael wants progress. Wants understanding. Neither approach is completely right or completely wrong. But the contrast is fascinating. Many times accomplishes things Michael cannot, because she approaches people with patience rather than urgency. That does not mean lacks principles. Far from it. It means she understands that human beings rarely change because they are pressured. They often change because they feel heard. That lesson repeatedly appears throughout the series. And Michael does not always learn it. Now let us place this within the historical context of the 1970s. America was changing rapidly. The Vietnam War divided generations. Civil rights debates transformed politics. Women's rights movements challenged traditional assumptions. Young Americans often felt that change was moving too slowly. Michael represents that frustration perfectly. He embodies a generation tired of waiting, a generation tired of excuses, a generation tired of resistance. That perspective resonated with millions of viewers. And honestly, it still resonates today. Because every generation eventually reaches a moment where it asks the same question. Why are people resisting something that seems so obvious? That question never disappears. The details change. The issues change. But the frustration remains. That is one reason Michael still feels relevant. Another hot take. Some of Michael's best moments occur when he finally slows down. When he stops trying to force change. When he stops trying to win. When he starts listening. Those moments reveal a different side of the character. A more mature side. A more thoughtful side. A more effective side. Because change rarely happens through arguments alone. It happens through relationships, through trust, through understanding. Those are lessons Michael gradually learns over the course of the series. And those lessons make him more than a political symbol. They make him a human being. One of the reasons All in the Family remains so powerful is that it refuses to turn anyone into a flawless hero. Archie has flaws. Gloria has flaws. Michael has flaws. And Michael's impatience with resistance may be one of his most important flaws because it grows directly from his strengths. He cares deeply. He believes deeply. He wants progress deeply. The very qualities that make him admirable also make him impatient. That complexity is what elevates the character. As we look back on Michael today, it becomes clear why he remains one of television's most fascinating figures. He was intelligent. He was passionate. He was idealistic. He was courageous. But he was also frustrated by people who refused to change. He struggled to understand resistance. He often expected progress to move faster than human nature allows. And that tension shaped countless memorable moments throughout the series. My final verdict is simple. Michael's impatience with resistance was both a strength and a weakness. It gave him the energy to challenge injustice. It gave him the courage to confront prejudice. It gave him the determination to push for change. But it also made him frustrated. It made him dismissive at times. It made him underestimate how complicated human beings can be. And that combination of admirable passion and very human impatience helped create one of the most realistic characters in television history. What do you think? Was Michael justified in his frustration with people who resisted change? Or do you think his impatience sometimes made conflicts worse than they needed to be? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to hear your thoughts. Drop a like if you enjoy these deep dives into classic television. Subscribe for more discussions about All in the Family, Norman Lear, Archie Bunker, Michael Bunker, and the groundbreaking shows that changed television forever. Share this video with fellow fans of television history. Turn on notifications so you never miss future episodes. And trust me, we have many more fascinating character studies coming your way.